Have you ever reached a point where everything looked fine on the outside, but inside you were lost? I have. There was a time in my life when I checked all the boxes: decent job, good education, friends who thought I had it all together. I was doing all the right things, walking a path that looked respectable, even admirable from the outside. But every morning I woke up with a quiet emptiness, a subtle ache, a sense that I was living someone else's version of success. Not my own. A voice in my head that kept asking, is this it? Is this all there is? Is this the life I'm meant to live? I didn't lack effort. I didn't lack dreams. But I lacked direction. I was moving, but not toward anything that truly mattered to me. Until one night, while scrolling through YouTube in search of something, anything, to feel better, I stumbled upon a voice I had never heard before. Calm, steady, full of presence. Like a teacher who wasn't trying to impress me. Just awakened me. It was Jim Rohn. And then I heard a sentence that stopped me cold. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. I paused the video, I replayed it, I wrote it down, because something in those 14 words cracked open a door I didn't know existed. It was the first time I realized I wasn't broken, I was just going the wrong way. That quote didn't just inspire me, it confronted me. It asked me to take ownership, and it offered me something powerful, hope. And that one insight became a turning point. Today I want to take you back to that night. I want to share the journey that followed, the questions I faced, the philosophy I rebuilt, and the life I began to redesign from the inside out. This isn't just a story about motivation. It's a story about meaning, about agency, about rewriting the philosophy that leads your life. Because you don't need to change everything today. You just need to change your direction. Let's begin. It's strange, isn't it? You can be surrounded by people, checked in at your office, replying to messages, showing up on social media with smiles and emojis, and still feel completely disconnected from yourself, like you're watching your life happen through a glass window. You're in the room, but you're not really there. That was me. And it turns out I wasn't alone. In fact, I now realize that so many people, especially in their 20s or 30s, are walking around with this invisible weight on their shoulders. It doesn't scream, it doesn't cry, but it whispers every single morning, you should be further by now. Everyone else seems to have it figured out. Why are you still stuck? And maybe worst of all, what's wrong with me? Let's talk about that. Because for a long time, I believed I was the only one who felt this way. And that belief? It made me suffer in silence. It made me ashamed to admit I didn't have it all together. I put on a smile, I kept achieving, and inside I felt like I was drifting. The truth is, we're taught how to succeed by external standards. Get the degree, get the job, get the relationship, get the house. And those are not bad things, but what no one really teaches you is how to feel whole inside, how to know yourself, how to define success on your own terms. That's why I say this. One of the most dangerous things in life is to live up to someone else's expectations so well that you lose yourself in the process. You get so good at performing that you forget how to feel. It happened to me, and I see it happening all around, in conversations, in coaching calls, in late-night texts from friends who whisper what they'd never post publicly. Let's break this down into real human experiences. 1. The young professional who did everything right. She graduated with honors, got a great job, her parents were proud, her LinkedIn was shiny, but every Sunday night she felt this anxiety creeping in, not because her job was hard, but because it was empty. She couldn't explain it. It just felt like she was waking up to live a script she never wrote, and the longer she stayed, the more afraid she became of starting over. 2. The burnt-out dreamer. He had passion. He tried building a business. It failed. He tried again. It stalled. Now he's tired. He's watching people younger than him become influencers, millionaires, authors, and inside he's battling a quiet voice saying, maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you peaked already. Maybe it's too late. 3. The parent who forgot themselves. She used to dream, used to write, dance, travel. Now her life is packed with responsibilities, beautiful ones. But somewhere along the line, she stopped recognizing the person in the mirror. She gives her all to everyone else, but can't remember the last time she felt truly alive. Her journal collects dust. Her playlists are silent. Her light has dimmed. 4. The overachiever who can't stop, he wins, he delivers, he gets promoted, and yet there's no pause, no celebration, just the next thing and the next. Because slowing down might mean facing a deeper question. Why am I doing all of this? Each of these stories is different, but they share a common thread. They are out of sync with their own inner philosophy. And when you're out of sync with your philosophy, even the right life can feel wrong. So what does this pain feel like? It's not always loud. It doesn't show up like a breakdown. It shows up in subtle ways. Scrolling your phone for an hour and not remembering anything you saw. Feeling exhausted even when you're not physically busy. Comparing your timeline to others and feeling behind. Laughing at a joke but feeling numb inside. Achieving a goal and feeling nothing. Wondering why you can't enjoy what you prayed for 5 years ago. Feeling stuck in a loop of almost happy, almost fulfilled, almost alive. That numbness, that's the symptom of being disconnected from meaning. And meaning doesn't come from achievement alone. It comes from alignment, from knowing why you're doing what you're doing, from moving through your day with a sense of coherence between your values and your actions. Jim Rohn said something that shook me. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. That was the line that made me sit up straight. Because here's the hard truth. Many of us are living well-executed lives with poorly defined philosophies. We hustle, we show up, we do our best, but we don't stop long enough to ask, what do I believe about success? What does a meaningful day look like for me? Am I building a life or just surviving one? Who am I when no one's watching? And when those questions go unanswered, our actions become reactive, not intentional. You see, philosophy is not a luxury. It's the operating system of your life. It shapes your thoughts, your habits, your relationships. If your philosophy is built on fear, on comparison, on pressure to be someone, then even when you succeed, you suffer. But when your philosophy is aligned with your values, growth, purpose, contribution, everything shifts. Let me share something I wish someone told me earlier. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are just out of sync. And just like tuning an instrument, you can retune your life. You don't need to burn everything down. You need to pause. You need to reflect. You need to ask deeper questions and listen for truer answers. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is sit with yourself in silence and ask, what am I really hungry for? And then dare to wait for the answer. That's what this journey is about. Not about hype, not about chasing a perfect morning routine, not about making 6 figures in 6 months. It's about coming home to yourself. So before we move on to the next section, where I'll share the 3 core philosophies from Jim Rohn that helped me rebuild my direction, I want to leave you with this. If you've ever felt that quiet ache, that quiet question, is this all there is? You're not alone, and more importantly, you're not stuck. You're just waiting for a better philosophy. Let's find it together. After that turning point, the one sparked by a single quote from Jim Rohn, I didn't instantly change my life. I didn't quit my job. I didn't move to a new city, but I began to listen closely, patiently. I watched hours of his speeches. I read every book I could get my hands on. I took notes, I reflected, and I experimented with my time, my habits, and most importantly, my mindset. But something else was unfolding beneath the surface. With each word I absorbed, I started noticing the invisible architecture of my thoughts, the way I interpreted challenges, the way I defined effort, the way I determined what I was worthy of. I began to see clearly. I hadn't just been misdirected, I had been philosophically untrained. I had no guiding system underneath my ambitions, no inner compass shaping the life I was trying to build. And slowly, a new framework emerged, one that didn't ask me to hustle harder, but to think deeper. To step back from the chaos and redesign the blueprint. This wasn't about adding more habits, more tactics, or more noise to my already overwhelmed life. It was about subtracting, simplifying, getting honest with myself. Jim Rohn taught me that lasting change begins inside, not outside, not with your job, not even with your habits, but with your philosophy, the deep, often invisible system of beliefs that runs everything beneath the surface. He spoke with clarity, with calm, and most importantly, with truth. He didn't shout. He invited. He didn't demand. He modeled. And in that gentleness, I found strength. The more I listened, the more I could see that everything he shared pointed to three core pillars. Three shifts that rebuilt the foundation of how I saw myself, how I made decisions, and how I measured success. And what's more remarkable, these pillars weren't complex. They weren't wrapped in buzzwords or gimmicks. They were timeless, grounded, enduring. They reminded me that the human journey doesn't need to be revolutionary to be transformative. It just needs to be real. Let me share them with you, not as a checklist, but as living philosophies that can reshape your direction if you let them. 1. Value-based philosophy. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. The first time I heard that quote, I paused the video. It felt like truth and challenge and permission, all in one line. You see, I had spent years thinking the world was unfair, that others had better luck, better resources, better support. I blamed the system. I blamed timing. I blamed myself. But Jim Rohn flipped that narrative on its head. He didn't say, be perfect, be the best. He said, be better. Better today than yesterday. Not because the world will get easier, but because you will get stronger. This philosophy took root in me deeply. It reconnected me with the idea that growth isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. That wishing for easier roads won't get me anywhere, but becoming more capable will. So I asked myself, what does it mean to be better? It doesn't mean more degrees, more likes, more praise. It means being more honest, being more intentional, learning from every mistake, choosing discipline over default, practicing self-awareness even when it's uncomfortable, forgiving myself and others to release mental clutter. It means working on the one thing that will always travel with you, yourself. And when I started to view every challenge as a training ground, something incredible happened. I stopped resenting difficulties. I started respecting them, because each difficulty became a teacher, each obstacle an opportunity to level up, and slowly I became the kind of person I once waited for. Not perfect, but better. More aware, more accountable, more aligned, more rooted in who I am, and that became the seed of transformation. 2. Growth-based philosophy. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. This quote hit me like a wave because I had done the opposite for years. I poured myself into projects, into deadlines, into tasks. I stayed up late for deliverables, but never for my dreams. I perfected PowerPoint decks, but never revisited my values, and I wondered why I felt so unfulfilled. Jim Rohn's philosophy challenged me to reverse that equation, not to abandon my job, but to shift my energy inward, to make self-development not a side hobby, but a central priority. What does that look like in practice? It looks like reading 10 pages a day from books that stretch your mind, journaling your thoughts before you scroll your phone, investing in your mindset as much as your wardrobe, spending time with people who challenge your thinking, not just comfort your beliefs, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, or mentors during your commute, reflecting weekly on what you're learning, not just what you're producing. It means understanding this truth. You can never outperform your own self-concept. If you think small, you live small. If you carry resentment, you sabotage results. If you believe you're unworthy, you settle for less. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you were meant to be. And it begins with intentional input. Just like your body becomes what you eat, your mind becomes what you consume. What you allow in daily determines what comes out under pressure. Jim taught me to become a student of life, to treat my own development like a daily ritual. And when I did, everything shifted. I made better decisions. I set boundaries. I said yes with purpose and no without guilt. I got clearer about what I wanted and bolder about pursuing it. Growth became my compass, not comparison. Not competition, just growth. And that compass never fails. 3. Action-based philosophy. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. This was hard to swallow, because like many people, I had fallen in love with motivation, with good vibes, with inspiration. I had vision boards, quotes on my wall, and daily affirmations, but nothing changed, because I wasn't doing, I was dreaming. Jim Rohn pulled me out of that comfort. He reminded me that dreaming is beautiful, but it's the beginning, not the end. You have to act. You have to do what you said you would do. And that means building discipline like a muscle. Not dramatic, flashy, all-or-nothing discipline, but quiet, steady, relentless discipline. Like Getting up 15 minutes earlier, saying no to what doesn't align, showing up when no one is clapping, doing the reps, keeping the promise, finishing what you start even if no one notices. Being consistent when it's boring. Discipline is not restriction, it's liberation. It's the daily proof that you're serious about what you say you want. And in a world full of noise and shortcuts, discipline becomes your inner edge. You stop needing permission. You stop waiting for motivation. You start becoming dependable to yourself. Jim taught me that discipline is the bridge between idea and outcome, between wish and result, between intention and integrity. And that bridge, you have to build it daily, brick by brick, minute by minute, with presence, with purpose. So here they are again: value, growth, action. 3 philosophies, 3 pivots, 3 foundations for a different kind of life. One that doesn't just look successful, one that feels meaningful. And here's the most powerful part. You don't need a perfect plan to begin. You need a better philosophy, because philosophy drives mindset. Mindset drives behavior, and behavior drives destiny. So ask yourself, what do I really value? How am I investing in myself? Where am I hiding behind potential instead of showing up in discipline? What would my life look like if I honored these 3 pillars daily? And then start where you are. Read that book, write that goal, have that hard conversation. Wake up tomorrow and do one thing differently. You don't have to change everything overnight, but you can change your direction today. And as Jim Rohn said, the major key to your better future is you. Let that truth land. Because no matter where you are now, no matter how lost or behind you feel, you can begin again. You can build a life anchored in value, fueled by growth, and lifted by action. This is how you become unstoppable. This is how you become you. You've come this far, you've reflected, you've listened. Maybe you've even felt a shift beginning inside you. But here's the truth. Transformation doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with motion. So let's get moving. Jim Rohn was never about hype. He was about principles, simplicity, daily disciplines that compound. He often said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That's our mission right now, to plant 3 simple but powerful disciplines into your life, starting today. They won't take hours. You don't need a special journal or expensive tools. You just need honesty, you need intention, and you need the willingness to begin. Let's go. 1. Write your new life philosophy. Yes, literally write it. Why? Because philosophy is not theory. It's the framework that drives your entire life. Most people live according to borrowed beliefs, what their parents taught, what society expects, what their friends value. But when was the last time you stopped and asked, what do I actually believe? What do I stand for? What matters to me now, not 10 years ago? So here's your first step. Take 20 minutes today and answer this question. What is the personal philosophy that will lead my next chapter? Don't overthink it. Don't try to make it sound poetic. Just speak your truth. To help you, here are some prompts. I believe success is. I believe discipline means. I believe I am responsible for. I believe the purpose of life is. I want to live by the principle of. This is not a one-time exercise. This is a declaration, a recalibration, a chance to stop following other people's GPS and chart your own map. And if your current philosophy isn't serving you, that's okay. As Jim Rohn said, you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. This is how you do it. Write the words, own the words, live the words. 2. Track 3 thought loops. The next action isn't about doing, it's about noticing. Every day you think between 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts, and most of them are reruns. Same doubts, same self-criticism, same hidden assumptions about who you are and what you're capable of. Jim Rohn said, stand guard at the door of your mind. Because here's the thing, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is shaped by what you think consistently. So today, I want you to become a quiet observer of your own mind. Your task, for the next 24 hours, identify 3 recurring thought loops that are holding you back. They might sound like, I'm too late, I always mess this up, I'm not that kind of person, they're better than me. Don't try to fix them yet, just notice them, name them, write them down. Then, this is key, ask yourself, Where did I learn this? You'll be surprised. That voice in your head may not even be yours. It could be a parent, a teacher, an old boss, a failed relationship. It could be fear, disguising itself as logic. When you expose the origin, you start to reclaim your power. You are not your thoughts, but you do have the power to rewire them. And rewiring begins with awareness. Thrive with one quote for the week. We live in a world full of noise. Every day we scroll past hundreds of quotes, captions, headlines, and motivational sound bites, but very few of them stick. Even fewer change us. So let's simplify. Let's go deep, not wide. This week, I want you to pick one quote, just one, and let it lead you. Choose a sentence from Jim Rohn that speaks to where you are right now. Something that hits you in the gut, not just something you like, something you're willing to live by. Here are a few to consider. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. For things to change, you have to change. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Now, once you pick it, write it down. Put it on a sticky note. Make it your phone wallpaper. Say it out loud each morning. Reflect on it each night. Your goal is to not just remember the quote, but to let it shape your choices. Every time you're about to react from habit, ask, what would this quote guide me to do? Every time you want to shrink or avoid something hard, ask, what would this quote expect of me? This practice turns ideas into identity, and identity is what sustains change. Let's review. You don't need a 30-day challenge. You don't need to master 17 habits. You don't need a perfect plan. You need clarity, you need awareness, and you need consistency. Here's how you begin. 1. Write your personal life philosophy. Put it into words. Make it yours. 2. Track 3 thought loops. Observe them. Question them. Don't let them go unchecked. 3. Live by one quote. Let it guide your actions, not just your feelings. Remember, massive change doesn't come from dramatic leaps. It comes from small steps, done with fierce commitment. And the best part? You can start today. Not next week, not next month, not after the next webinar or book. Today. Because you are the gatekeeper of your next chapter. And as Jim Rohn said, the walls we build to protect ourselves can also become the prisons that hold us back. Tear down those walls. Build with truth. Act with intention. This is your moment. This is your reset. Now go. Begin. Let's take a breath. Let's not rush past what we've just uncovered. We didn't just talk about productivity or mindset tricks. We talked about something deeper. We talked about the quiet ache, the silent gap between who you are and who you were meant to be. That space, that in-between, it's sacred, it's vulnerable, it's powerful. That space is where transformation begins. Not from external pressure, but from internal permission. Because your future doesn't start next week. It starts now. It starts the moment you choose to see your life differently. It starts when you stop reacting and start reclaiming your authorship. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is not to be pursued, it is to be attracted by the person you become." And the person you become is shaped by your philosophy, by your thoughts, by your choices, by your small unseen commitments when no one's watching. So here's what I want you to remember. This is not about hype. This is not about chasing some grand future. This is about returning to yourself, reconnecting, rerouting, remembering. It's about designing your life from the inside out, not the outside in. From intention, not insecurity. From purpose, not pressure. So ask yourself right now, what beliefs have been leading my life? Are they mine or inherited from someone else? Are they worthy of me? Are they aligned with the person I am becoming? Because here's the truth, most of us don't need more goals. We need a new lens. We need to stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, who am I becoming? When that shift happens, everything changes. Your ambition becomes sustainable. Your self-worth becomes stable. Your direction becomes clear. Your choices, your boundaries, your energy, your relationships, your identity, everything. And the best part, you don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to change your direction. One small course correction can change your entire path. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Jim Rohn. One choice, one step, one truth spoken aloud, one habit practiced with love. That's how it begins. So let me offer you one last exercise, one last invitation. One last moment to lock this in, not just in your mind, but in your being. I want you to finish this sentence, and if you're brave enough, say it out loud or even write it as a comment. That was my turning point because fill it with truth, with commitment, with feeling, with clarity. Maybe you'll say, that was my turning point because I finally stopped waiting. That was my turning point because I heard something that hit different. That was my turning point because I realized no one is coming to rewrite my life except me. That was my turning point because I no longer need to earn my worth. That was my turning point because the voice in me became louder than the noise around me. Whatever it is, own it. Don't whisper it, don't water it down, because language creates reality. And when you speak it, you begin to believe it. And when you believe it, you start to live it. And when you live it, you rewrite your entire future. So this is the moment to go from knowing to choosing, to go from inspired to aligned, from passive viewer to active architect, from wishing to walking. And that choice, it's yours now. So breathe and declare it. That was my turning point. Say it not to impress me. Say it to activate you. Say it because the next version of your life is waiting for your voice. Because your future isn't waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for a true version of you. And that version is already here, is already rising, is already ready, is already whispering, let's begin. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You just need to begin. You just need to decide. The major key to your better future is you. Now go. Live like you mean it. Live like you remember who you are. Live like the turning point already happened because it did. Because this was your turning point, and the rest of your life is waiting for you to show up and say yes.